different places, but we are live. It is all live. We are good to go. It is great to be with you as always. We appreciate it. I'm Jeff. There's Ira. There's Corey. And we have to thank, as we get started, our friends from Register Sausage. Yay, sausage. And by the way, I want to give a lot of love to Register Sausage. We often do. But, of course, Ben played in the tournament as well, the Jeff Cameron Show Warchant Invitational. Good times. And I know he had a good time. We appreciate his support. And he's been very supportive of all of us and everything we do here at Warchant for a very long time. But thanks for coming out, Ben. And don't forget, when you guys are rolling past your local Publix, hopefully you go in and do the right thing and get yourself a little Register Sausage.
He beat me at putting. I think he was playing with Eggers, right? I think those were the two that beat me out of their group that beat me in putting. And I had a pretty good putt. It was within like 3 feet, but they snuck it inside me.
I'm going to need you to stop jostling your microphone today, Corey, by the way. Like, it's cool that you have to hold it because it needs to be close to you.
But you're a jostler.
You can hear it kind of like rattling around a little bit.
All right, I'm going to need you to mind your own business. All right? I'm sorry all you had to see that, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
It would be cool if you could just like break the fourth wall and like walk in and slap me like Will Smith and then walk right back out.
Yeah, I'm sitting right next to you.
Yeah. I'm around the corner, but I can hear them back there.
You're not in Atlanta at all. In fact, I also, a buddy of mine, Steven, who got a lot of text messages in the last couple of days, you guys might have imagined. And one of them was my buddy Steven, who big FSU fan, who told me to remind everyone that I can use Register Sausage as nunchucks if I need to. If I need to fight anybody off, I could throw them at people. Register Sausage can be used as a weapon in, I think, 7 states.
You call them nunchucks, huh?
Not nunchucks, but noonchucks.
Nunchucks, okay.
I don't know, man. Can you cut me some slack?
No, been one of those weeks.
It's been a day, Corey.
Been a week.
It's been a couple days, Corey Clark.
Sorry, that's my fault.
Good grief, man.
Hey, I do want to say this. We're not going to spend all day today talking about the Mims situation because I think we've addressed it. All of us individually and as a group have addressed it. I'm not staying there. I'm moving on. We're moving on. I don't know if people expect 2 hours of Mims talk, but there's not a lot to talk about. The kid's staying at Georgia. That's all understood now. We've talked about it. It's been addressed. Is there anything you want to add in this forum, Ira, before we just move it on down the road, baby?
I thought the whole first hour. I thought that's what we were doing. No, I'm probably about Amarius Mims out after the last day. I answered probably 40 messages on our message board, or we had hundreds of posts. Probably responded 30 or 40 times on there. We've had your show yesterday. You and Tom, Corey, and Aslan talked about it. I think we're just about done. The one thing I did want to say is it's been interesting to see how different people have handled it, including some people in the media and who have, seen it as an opportunity to take shots, which is cool. The other side of it, though, is, man, I've gotten so many unbelievable messages from people. It's like when something bad happens to you and you realize how much people like you, you have a tragedy or something and it's sad because you have this bad moment, but you're getting so much support. Well, I think people feel like I needed support yesterday, which I appreciate. I mean, I'm a big boy. I can live with it, but it was cool. I mean, I responded to a bunch of the messages, emails, texts, DMs, posts on the boards and stuff. And a lot of people haven't even sent directly. They've just posted stuff into the ether on Twitter, just saying, not even tagging me, just saying that they appreciate me. So I appreciate all of that, but I'm definitely ready to move on.
Ira, I was in the store yesterday on my way out, and a guy pulled me aside and said, hey, I want to talk to you about Ira. I said, I'm about tired of talking about Ira, okay?
Yeah.
If you got a question for me, please let me know, or something I can pass on to Corey. But I'm done talking about Ira, okay, guys? And then I gave him a quick hug and we moved on. But he was wishing you well. He was wishing you should have
thrown some sausage at him if he was coming the other way.
Yeah, so that's your whole life is throwing sausage at people.
Is it nunchucks? So it's nunchucks?
It's nunchucks.
I think they rhyme. They kind of rhyme. Yeah, it's not nunchucks.
But I gotta tell you, I like that you were so far removed from that geek culture of people that collected nunchucks from back when we were kids that you didn't even know how to pronounce them.
Yeah,
I couldn't afford.
That's right.
Couldn't afford them on our street,
and they're now called throwing stars. Ira, if you're gonna say the other thing, they're not Chinese stars anymore. They're throwing stars.
Thanks for all the knowledge we're getting from Corey Clark this week.
I tell you, that's what I do. I drop knowledge. Oh, and it was funny going back to Mims real quick. Not about the story, but like Stephanie went down a rabbit hole because sometimes she'll get on Twitter and she'll look at like what people reply to Warchant, and she's like, God, people are so mean. They're so mean. I'm like, yeah, That's why you don't read your mentions. That's why you don't go down those rabbit holes all the time. She's like, and she named a couple people's like, you better not talk to them ever again. I'm like, it's just how it works on Twitter, man. It's fine. It'll blow over in a week. But yes, you're right. I won't talk to them ever again. It's just funny how personally attacked she took it.
I like the kind of innocence that Stephanie walks the earth with, believing that people are nice on the internet.
Yeah, we're crazy. Hey, by the way, Ira, does Kim know anything about it?
Here's, it's funny about that. So this weekend, I was talking to, the kids were home. It was Easter, so I had all the kids home from college and having a nice time this weekend. And I thought for a minute about talking, because sometimes they'll see stuff or hear stuff. People at school will bring up, what I do or whatever. And I thought for a minute about bringing it up just from the standpoint of like maybe just talking about, what went into the decision-making process, why I ran it, how it may not turn out the way we were expecting it to turn out, because they were still here on Sunday when it started to kind of unravel. And I thought, just be something to talk about is like what journalism and some of the ethics decisions and things like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't need any of them being like Stephanie and going to look at my mentions.
Yeah.
Because that would really bother them, because they're not used to it and that's their dad. I think it would bother them. They might think it's funny. They might be in that group sending me messages too. But so I decided to not, maybe down the road, maybe a month or two down the road, I'll bring it up.
Smart.
I wonder if there's a distinct difference there in terms of the way they would respond to it between boys and girls. My boys are of the age, and including my oldest, who's about to start high school soon enough, anytime I screw up in any way, get something wrong on the air, make a prediction that doesn't happen in terms of a winner for a game or a free agent sign, Bryce thinks it's the funniest thing on earth. He's like, oh, you're going to get killed. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think if he read, hey, your dad is an idiot, and I wish you weren't living. Not that anybody said that to Ira, but he might have I don't think he'd think that was probably funny. I don't know. I'm trying to think Brady. Brady would be pretty.
The line about an idiot, he would laugh.
Probably.
If they threatened my life or wish that I was dead, yeah, he might think that's crossing the line.
Check your DMs. I sent you a message earlier today.
Okay. I'll get on it.
But yeah, man, it is what it is. And I appreciate you guys for the things you guys have said. But yeah, I'm totally ready to move on. Florida State's going to find other players. Their coaches actually went on the road recruiting today. Recruiting period opened back up for them.
You got a scoop, Ira? You got a scoop for us?
Maybe second hour. Tune in for the second hour, Corey.
Oh, you got a scoop? Nice. It's the Bless Harris era, guys.
Jeff yesterday hit me. He started asking me yesterday. He's like, "Is Daryl Jackson committed?" And I
opened with that. Did you listen yesterday, Corey?
Yes, I did.
And I literally was like, "Holy crap! Did that just happen right before I came on?" And do I need to be posting that story? And so the whole time I'm just like, "Is Jeff messing with me?" Yeah. Well, I was just like, and I couldn't decide if I could go look at my phone anyway. But he has not. That's an interesting one though, man, because that kid, he was teammates with Joshua Farmer in high school over in Gadsden County. They both played for Corey Fuller. Florida State did not offer him. He wanted to come to Florida State. He ends up going to Maryland, had a really nice year as a true freshman, defensive lineman, had like 20-something tackles as a freshman. Well, he's in the portal, visited last weekend. So he may be reunited. We've argued whether or not they need a defensive lineman. He's more of a defensive tackle, a defensive end right now. He played end more, I think, earlier, but he's put on a lot of weight. But he's a guy that I think if they want him, they could get him in the portal. But I'm not breaking it right now. I'm not breaking it right now,
Ira. Slow down just a little bit. Slow down.
Hold off on it. I actually only want to hear about offensive linemen or receivers coming here. That's it. It's the only time ever.
Going back to the angst that was just Florida State fandom the last week. It is a real bummer that you were so close, apparently, to landing the number one player in the country who ditches you for your former All-American that now coaches at Jackson State. And now you were that close to getting a 5-star offensive lineman that goes back to Athens. I can understand Florida State fans' frustration, man. You get tired of this. You feel like you're snake bitten. And this program shouldn't feel like it's snake bitten. It's one of the best programs in the country. But right now, it feels like every time you get that close to like an impactful player, like a generational player, maybe
a possible program changer.
Yes, you lose them. Right. And this guy and this staff, I'm not saying they're to blame in any way, but they've got to figure out a way to maybe go get a program changer instead of getting right on the doorstep.
Yeah, well, that's fine. To say they got to figure out a way to do it is true, but I don't think it's fair to blame this staff for not getting
No.
Mims. That's a terribly
No, but
tragic
I'm saying you
situation over
understand
there.
the Florida State frustration,
No,
the
well,
fan base
Well,
frustration.
but I think
I want
the other
to expound on that though, really quickly. Okay, so this Mims situation is a very strange situation, and again, we've talked about it, but also the Travis Hunter thing had never been seen before. That's never happened before. This is all part and parcel to, in a lot of ways, Mike Norvell getting this job at a weird time in college football recruiting, in college football in general, with the rules and everything that's changed about how kids come and go, and the one-time transfer and NIL, and obviously early signing period and a pandemic. I mean, there have been a lot of weird things, and certainly they have fallen victim to it. So you're right, Corey. The fan base, all you got to do is sit back and watch it turn on each other, and how ugly it gets anytime something upsets the apple cart. Anything. This time around, it was Ira with Mims, but it could be anything. Fans are so frustrated. I agree with that. They're so mad because, this program, which was one of, if not the best programs in the country for the better part of 35, 40 years, has fallen on hard times, and it's taking, in their mind, a long time to get this ship righted. And it's difficult. I mean, it's hard to go through it. And so when you get your hopes up even a little bit, if you just have a modicum of belief that you see evidence that it's turning, or that this kid's going to help push you over the top, and then it falls through for whatever reason, it just gets really nasty. And I think it does speak to where the program's at and where the fan base is at. Just it's a feeling of futility. Like, what are we to do? You're not going to believe anything ever again.
But there's two things I would say on that. One is it's like the way Corey said it, and I think the reason you kind of took a little umbrage is it makes it sound like they've done something wrong. It would have been crazy for a 5-7 team to have pulled the number one player in the country and a 5-star offensive tackle out of the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that you throw up your hands and don't want those things, but just being that close was impressive. I mean, there is some credit to be given there. They were very close. I know it doesn't count, but they were very close to getting in with two huge program changing possible players. The other thing it illustrates is how far FSU has to go in terms of, like, there's no margin for error, for Florida State right now because of where the program is. So anything like this seems like a blow, like hitting the iceberg, in the Titanic, because it's not like you can take a lot of hits. If you're a program that's in great standing and things are going well, if Amarius Mims had left Georgia, man, it doesn't change their trajectory one bit. It would have been a huge changer for Florida State. And so from that standpoint, it just illustrates kind of, how far Florida State has to go where they can withstand some of those ebbs and flows.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer, but it is a bummer. We can say that they were that close. It's not just that they were close. They had a kid committed for a year and a half,
right?
And then they had a kid basically on campus saying, "Yeah, I'm coming," and then neither one showed up. And you're going to see them at other schools, and it's just, if you're Florida State, you're like, man, Mims might have been another win. He might have added another win to the schedule just because he's on the roster. Hunter might have added another win, and now they're at other places, and that's. It's hard for Florida because Florida State fans are used to getting these guys, not in the portal necessarily, but they've gotten the number one player in the country before. Lots of times they've gotten 5-star players. And now it seems like when you get on the doorstep, it's not happening. I'm not blaming Norvell, but I can understand why fans they're not going to believe anymore until the kid is in class taking a test. They're not going to believe that kid is probably great news. Good news. There's a lot of good news that comes from Norvell. Great program changing news. They're not going to believe it till the kid's in class taking a test.
Well, when the Travis Hunter thing happened on National Signing Day, when we talked about it, I said that this is it. It changes the game forever. Nobody will ever again believe, because that kid beat the drum for Florida State and stated publicly hundreds of times that nothing could keep him from going to Florida State. And then he didn't go to Florida State,
right?
And took money. Yeah. Joel writes, Armella and Thomas were huge pickups. I hate the misses, but I love this year's class, and it's only up from here. Thank you so much, Joel, for contributing to what we do and for supporting us and for coming out and being a part of our events and for supporting Seminole Headlines. And thanks for your question and or observation. I agree. I was just about to add.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some really good players that came into this class, and we watched them during the spring, and we'll see Armella in the fall. But I know that I, for one, walked off those practice fields most days, just like you two did, thinking that between Thomas and, I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 guys from this class that I kept thinking to myself, man, those are home runs. They got guys. They got some dudes in this class. So that's exciting.
Not Mims, though, only because Mims was an immediate impact guy. And Travis Hunter would have been too. Those are guys that could have helped you. I don't know that. I think Thomas will. I don't know if any of the other guys are going to help this year, but those 2 guys are difference makers this year. I'm not trying to harp on it. I'm just saying that, to me, that was the difference. It's not Armella might be great in 2023 or 2024. Daniel Lyons might be great then. They're not going to help you much now. These 2 guys would have been immediate helps. And
we'll see though, because I thought Norvell's answer about Armella was pretty interesting at the end of spring practice. I think it was the last practice last practice after the spring game when somebody asked about those guys coming in, and he, the way he talked about Armella, I just was intrigued by the way he talked about Armella, and that Julian Armella expects to be able to come in and play right away. Now, I don't know if it's a tackle or not. We'll have to see how that plays out and what he looks like when he gets here. But it sounds like, Julian Armella is not coming into Florida State like thinking, okay, my year is 2023 or 2024. Like, he wants to play right away. And shoot, man, he was, they downgraded him a little bit on some of the recruiting rankings at the end of the process. But, he was the number 1 offensive tackle in the country in some people's minds for a long time. Then you had, again, Sam McCall and Azaria Thomas and some of these guys they have brought in. And then because some of the guys from last year Shaheem Brown didn't even play last year. Dude, you can't tell me there's a lot of players athletically that are as gifted as him, walking around college football. So there's some talent on this roster.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Molly's calling me real quick. One second.
Who offer only the best, like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Wooden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Here we go. Your next chance to grow your green this spring and win $1,000 is coming up at 2 p.m.
I just won $1,000.
Listen for the keyword at the top of the hour. Then enter that keyword online at realtalk93.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
And away we go. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Good to be with you. FSU basketball fills out their 2023 team roster, continues to do so, I should say. The addition of Darren Green Jr. from UCF via the transfer portal, joining Brown University transfer forward Jalen Gainey, which we talked about before. Anything to add to that, Ira? Just a little touch of basketball news real quick here to start the segment.
I mean, just as good as, obviously the big questions or big concerns they had last season was they obviously needed somebody who could shoot the basketball, which is always big in basketball, in the sport of basketball. They needed somebody who could shoot consistently from the perimeter and then to kind of open things up, and then also a post defender, somebody that could block shots, affect things around the rim. And they've answered both of those with those two guys. I don't think they're done yet. I wouldn't surprise me if they went and got another guy out of the portal. And it sounds like those young guys, from every indication we've had so far, is the young guys are coming back. So, I think next year should really erase some of the bad taste in everybody's mouth from what happened in the second half of this past season.
Is Malik gone?
I don't think he's officially said. Said.
He's kind of run out of time, isn't he? I mean, I guess he could just leave and not tell anyone, but I feel like he would. I mean, he was a starter for 3 years. I feel like he would let people know one way or the other if he's coming back or leaving. And yeah, that kid scored. I was at that game. It was a Saturday night. It was 2 years ago. It was Scotty Barnes' year. UCF came into Tallahassee and beat FSU on a Saturday night and ended their long home winning streak. And that kid hit 6 3-pointers against them. I know you'd be surprised to know that Florida State gave up some threes, but that kid went crazy and hit 6 threes and scored 20 points. So they said, all right, why don't you come play for us?
He is a 6'5" guard, 3 seasons with the Golden Knights, started 66 of the 82 games in which he played. That includes 52 games over the last 2 seasons, led UCF in scoring at over 13 points a game, shot 40.1% overall. He was the team's best 3-point shooter, to your point, Corey, shooting nearly 40%, third best accuracy from beyond the arc in the AAC. So that's who he is.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's huge to have, because Worley and Cleveland, they got some skills to them. They got a lot of stuff to them. They have not proven they can shoot at a high level at all. And then Polite, who was probably your best shooter, isn't on the team anymore. So, yeah, it's good to go get a guy like that. Maybe go get another one.
James B., thank you so much. He writes, love you, Ira. Have mad respect for you and the entire Warchant staff and, of course, the JCS. Thank you so much, James B. Appreciate your contribution, kindness, and kind words, as always. Thanks for the support.
Little trivia about James B. that you guys wouldn't know. His dad was a pretty famous comedian back in the day. Did the Grand Ole Opry and a bunch of stuff in the South. He was a famous comedian.
Is it Bobcat Goldthwait?
No.
Bobcat is now a big-time director. Ira, he is a director of film.
It was actually Richard Pryor.
I would have never linked the two.
No, I know.
You could have led with that, but
cool. And James B is a very nice person. He comes to a lot of our stuff and is a very nice man, good guy. So is Joel Davis, by the way.
Thanks.
I didn't tell y'all. I ran into him in Corner Pocket. Did I tell y'all this?
You did.
Oh, never mind. He was in town. He was coming through on his way to Defuniak, where he lives after a funeral in Charlotte, because that's what he does for a living. He doesn't just drive to funerals. He's a funeral director.
Where's this going?
This is a great story, man.
So anyway, he just sees the Corner Pocket. He'd heard us talking about it so much. He comes in, and lo and behold, Stephanie and I are there.
Wait a minute.
Sits down and has dinner with us.
So your story is that somebody went to the CP and you just happen to be there. Like,
can you believe it, Ira?
What are the odds?
Can you believe it? Like 1 and 2, 1 and 1, depending on if I'm in town or not.
So
shocking development.
No, those are great people. That going back to that spring game, I think we talked about last week, but the event we had at the Hotel Indigo in College Town was awesome. We got to meet a lot of people as well. So that was cool. It's cool that all happened before this past couple days. So nobody try to throw anything at me.
A quick, out of curiosity, I wonder do we know what is the total number of, or do we have an inkling of the total number of transfer portal guys that they're going to be looking to try to bring in? Do we know that, or is it just
or basketball?
Yeah, for football.
I mean, I think it's somewhere in that 3 to 5 range.
So we're still kind of guessing, though. We're not sure.
No, because I don't think. I mean, I think it can be kind of fluid. I mean, I think there's, they've already had a couple players who are going into the portal. I think there's going to be more guys going into the portal. Look, man, I mean, this is, that's one other thing that whole thing is illuminated, is that you're going to have players now. I mean, this is the blueprint. If players weren't already planning to do this, Amarius Mims kind of created a blueprint for kids to say, you know what, I'm going to find out how much you really want me. And if I go in the portal, and I'm not saying that he played a game or that was a plan, but if you're on the outside, if you're another player and hadn't included into that, you can see how this could work. So, I mean, I just think that we've all been aghast at the numbers of kids going in the portal and all the transactions and all that over the last year. Man, with NIL added to it, just throwing gasoline on it, it's just the beginning. I mean, it's legitimate. It's going to be year-long free agency unless they come up with some rules to at least shorten the window or something.
It's a dicey subject to try to wade into, so we'll be careful with our words here. But I said yesterday on the show that if there's any good that comes out of this, and again, I'm going to be somewhat ambiguous here, but you guys can connect the dots. If there's any good that came out of the Mims situation and the way that it played out, with him unfortunately going back to Georgia, it's that Florida State did appear in the modern landscape of recruiting to have their ducks in a row necessary to create a conversation and an interest. So for people who for a while felt like Florida State was behind, specifically they thought they were behind in the NIL game, for example. For people who thought that, I think it's suffice to say that Florida State's caught up. Now, that doesn't mean they'll be able to outbid certain schools. There will always be schools that have greater resources. But Florida State does seem to have their ducks in a row, for lack of a better term, in terms of being able to present possibilities. And again, I know inducements can't happen and all that, but we're big boys and girls here. We understand the deal. So my point is, it doesn't sound like NIL had any part to do with this at all. And that instead a kid made a decision based on very personal reasons, which we can now understand once those became illuminated to an extent.
But
I'm encouraged by that.
What's tricky about it to me, I was talking with Ira about this yesterday, is none of us are under the illusion or the disillusion that he is now not whatever he was getting paid at Georgia NIL wise. And we could talk like that. Kids get on NIL deals now. He's on campus. He is a player there. He probably went up 100-fold. Because he showed them what his value was. And there's no way that he's not getting paid much more money now at Georgia than he was 2 weeks ago. There's no chance. So that's where you wonder, okay, how is this going to work moving forward? Like I were talking about the blueprint, and make it a Florida State kid. Say AZ Thomas has a great year next year, and he's only getting a certain amount of money from Rising Spear or whoever. Then he puts his name in the portal. He sees what his value's worth. Now, does Florida State have to match that to get him back? That's where we're at right now, man. That is what's been unleashed with all of this. And I know we're all three of us in particular are for player empowerment. But this is impossible because unlike the NFL, there are no contracts that are signed that are binding. So a kid can just decide in November, you know what, I had a good time. I want to go see, I bet I can make triple the amount of money somewhere else. And you can't stop me because none of these contracts mean anything. And that's where we are. And I'm talking about the NILs necessarily, but also just LOIs. Like you can get it, you can just go anywhere you want now for the one time. So how do you combat that? That's going to be, I mean, it could be like, Alabama's going to handpick whoever they want from around the country, but so is Georgia. So is Ohio State. So are all the good programs that have more money than you. And that's where you wonder, where is this thing going? What if AZ Thomas is a freshman All-American? How much more do you have to pay him to keep him on your campus? Because it ain't just, I love Norvell. I want to be here. Go Noles. it's a financial reality now.
Right. But the thing is there, Corey, is that value will be determined by the market. You're right. So there are only a few of those kinds of guys.
But he will go to the market to see. I'm not saying him in particular. These guys like a Mims will go into the market to see what their value is, and then they can come back and having upped their value at their current school. That kid, Mims, isn't even going to start for Georgia. Is he now making more than the guy that's starting? And how does that affect that offensive line?
Well, we don't know if I mean, that's
Well, but the other thing is you don't, with all of these things, it's not like you. It's not. First of all, the schools officially aren't involved in most of these cases. It is third party entities or whatever. But the reality is, if a player, the biggest problem to me is the window part. The fact that there's not, like in free agency, there's a time period where players can either, there's a trade deadline, there's free agency periods, but you can't leave in the middle of a contract. Well, right now, I don't know how any contract would be ironclad at any point, and players can leave whenever they want. The transfer portal is open 24/7, 365 days a year. And so there's no restraints on any of it. The only thing you're hoping on is that your relationship with the players is as strong as it could possibly be. But man, I just think it's going to expand to other teams. And right now, you say Alabama can get whoever they want. Well, to a degree, they can, but whether or not they can keep all those guys, that's going to be what we see.
And that's where the argument everybody who wanted this is saying, yes, that's the point. Good. Because now if you're a program.
We lose Jeff?
Looks like it. That guy, man, finally, it's just us, Ira. It's just us. Look at him. Look at his dumb face.
We're frozen. Right here, buddy. I'm not frozen. Sorry. I'm right here.
He wasn't talking about you.
Something else.
So the point would be that there it is, man. If I'm Kansas and I can't get a player, if I have enough money and I want to throw money at the problem, I can get a player now that I couldn't have gotten before. And maybe that one player does well and changes our fortunes a little bit and makes out like a bandit from the NIL. And all of a sudden that lures a second player eventually. But the point is, if I'm third string at Alabama and I'm a 5-star and I'm behind these two other guys and I'm not going to start for 2 years and I need to get something on film because I'm hell-bent on going pro, yeah, man, I open it up to everybody else and everybody else can weigh in now and go grab guys. It's going to happen.
Alabama is definitely going to lose people. So is Georgia. We saw that. They just lost a pretty good defensive end last year, if everyone remembers. But I'm saying that when they lose someone or when they have a hole on their team because of graduation or injury in the spring, they can almost go handpick who they want from around the country and say, we're going to give you, name a number. We'll give you 7 figures to come here and be our starting right tackle because you're the best in the Big Ten. And it's up to that other school to match it. And it's just crazy that there's nothing. Like, again, I want players to get paid. It's crazy they weren't paid. But the NFL players are paid, but they're bound by something. They don't willy-nilly go from the Jets one year to the Giants another year to the Falcons another year. They get multi-year deals, and they're on your team. You can lock them in. Now it's the transfer portal combined with NIL has made this just it's anarchy, man. It's straight up anarchy, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to ever get your hands or mind around it.
I do like that Nick Saban's come out and say there's a problem. Dabo Swinney's come out and say there's a problem. We all know that there's a lot of issues going on here, but Jimbo Fisher is consistently going to tell people that NIL has nothing to do with any player on their roster or the fact that they just landed the best recruiting class in the country. It has nothing to do with all that. Just I appreciate my man just sticking to his guns.
He knows.
If I were him, I would say it every day. And every time a new 5-star kid signed with us, I'd be like, boy, I'd like to thank my coaches. We were just doing such a good job of convincing kids of how special a place Texas A&M is.
And he'd be like, guys, you don't understand how these 17 and 18-year-olds love male cheerleaders in uniforms. They just do. Yeah. They love swing. They love tumbleweed. Yeah. They love all the things that you guys don't understand. Yeah, they love dogs. They love my 2 ranches. Like they love all. There's things about College Station that's special. That goes.
Money can't buy it. Money can't buy
this.
I'm thinking about getting a third ranch. A third ranch. I could maybe get a third ranch with these classes I'm signing, but it's just to do good for the community. It's just because it's such a special place. Why wouldn't you have 3 ranches? Why wouldn't you? Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
for non-life-threatening injuries in a shooting early Monday morning. Officers were called to the area of East Chestnut Street at around 3:36 a.m., where they found a male victim and talked to him to keep him alert. Officers learned the shooting happened at another location within the city. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office helped secure the area of the original crime scene, but that location was not disclosed. Information was gathered and evidence was collected. This is an ongoing investigation. Preparation for the 101st Rose Show and Festival can be seen all over downtown Thomasville. It's a time of year known to bring upward of 30,000 people to the city over the course of 2 days. Thomasville Tourism and Special Events Manager Madison Eaton says we're forming the Rosebud and Rose Parade into one big parade on Friday night. We'll have the Rose Fest market during the days on Saturday at the Ritz Amphitheater, and we'll also have the Rose Fest finale ending out the weekend with some fireworks at 9 on Saturday night. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 74. Northerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 48 tonight. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Highs around 80. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Thursday, decreasing clouds by Friday. Low 80s Thursday, mid 80s by Friday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 66.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
It's Congressman Michael Waltz on the Greg Tish Show.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Again, just what you have to go through day in and day out. I don't know how you have hair left, or like Matty Rowe, just completely bald.
Hey!
Sorry.
And the irony of it all, the progressives are the tail wagging the dog. This whole bipartisan White House is a joke. We're just watching them eat their own.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues now. We'll get to headliner questions in that second hour. We're going to keep those down a narrow path, boys. That's those questions are going to be pertinent questions.
Like my drives in that golf tournament.
How'd you play? I didn't ask you.
We had Keith Cottrell and Aslan Hajavandi on our team, and Stephanie, the great Stephanie, played on our team as well, and they carried us. I had a couple of shots that might have accounted for something, but it was a good time, man. It was a lot of fun. The event, you, Tom Lang. I mean, we didn't set this up to promote the golf tournament, but it was awesome. I mean, we heard from so many different people who were there who were like, "Man, this was so well run. This was so great," and I was like, "Yeah, that's what I do." But no,
that's all Ira's doing.
I had nothing to do with it, but you guys did a great job, man, and raised over like $10,000 for Second Harvest, something like that.
We did
really
well.
incredible.
We did well, yeah. It's and what will you live and learn. We did a bunch of these for years and years and years, and then we had to take a break when I left Clear Channel. Took a break over at ESPN, and then we knew when we left there that it was time to maybe relaunch this sucker. So I want to thank all the sponsors and Warchant and everybody else, all the people certainly who came out, and of course the Second Harvest, whom you just mentioned, we were able to benefit. So hey, it's going to be good. More opportunities to do that.
I raised $1,100 with people putting against me. Something
there
like
it
that.
is.
'Cause I think every foursome but one actually stopped and just putted against me.
What do you think? What do you think we could have raised if we put you in a dunking booth?
Oh, I mean, probably twice, at least twice that. I think everybody would have stopped and done that. If everybody gets to dunk me, yeah. And if it's, especially if it's like goo, like if it's slime or jello and not just water, yeah, I think they'd still be doing it.
Where do we get slime and jello from? I want this to happen.
I'm not volunteering for that. I'm not volunteering for that this time. I wanted to be at the AR-15 shooting the golf balls.
Hey, Corey, your lovely girlfriend told me it was the greatest day of her life. Now, I thought it was a bit of an overstatement.
Especially because she's known me for, I mean, we're talking about 1,700 days now at this point, and for her to single that one out.
And she's had children.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, sure. There's a lot of things that have happened in her life. Yeah, yeah.
Right,
so,
and yet this was the greatest day of her life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was. She did have a blast, man. She loves golf anyway, and she's one of those people that doesn't really. I mean, she's like when she hits a bad shot, but just her hitting one good shot will feed her for a whole round. And she said she got to use they use 7 or 8 of her shots.
Yeah, the nice thing was she got to hit off the red tees, so we got to use and she had some really nice drives right down the middle. We used a few of those, but yeah, and I think she had a big putter too. But yeah, Keith Cottrell, former FSU punter extraordinaire, and Aslan were both really good golfers.
Aslan hold a 60-footer on the last hole.
That was insane. I mean, I wish we had taken video of that. Who knows? You never know when you need to be videoing somebody putting from off the fringe 60, 70 feet away from the hole. But, man, he nailed it. That was the way we ended the round.
And I have to ask, Jeff, I don't do golf tournaments. I don't understand how they work necessarily. But so Ira's team, they overall, they shot like a 2 under. You guys shot a 13 under. Mm-hmm. Somebody shot 26 under par.
Somebody shot a 46, yeah.
So handicaps come into play and mulligans come into play and all that stuff, because Ira, y'all didn't do that. Y'all didn't register your handicaps. No. You didn't buy any mulligans.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you that I'm assuming that they eagled every par 5, which is possible if you've got scratch players.
Right.
You could eagle every par 5, birdie most of the par 4s. Yeah, you can get there, man. I've seen some crazy low scores over the years. If the team is completely made up of ringers or scratch players, yeah, it's possible.
Oh, all right. Well,
it's Brandon writes, what's more likely, that kids with deals will stick around to collect or transfer for playing time when they're recruited over? That's from Brandon. Brandon, thanks for your contribution and your question. I don't think kids stick around much anymore if they don't see a path to starting in their first couple of years. I think they're more apt to take a look around.
It's a good question, though, right? Like, you've got a deal and you're making money. There's no guarantee you get in the portal anybody's going to pay you what you're making to sit the bench, even if you've been recruited over. And maybe the writing's on the wall that you're not going to be an NFL player, but you still get to collect money for two more years. I mean, I don't know. That's the reality we live in. I don't know how you do that calculus.
Yeah, and something that somebody brought up to me in the industry, not somebody in the media, somebody in the industry made the comment to me that a lot of the numbers we see out there are not necessarily true numbers. And this is why, like last week when the topic came up about how much it would cost to get Amarius Mims and whatever else, if that was a factor, I don't even like to speculate, because so many of the numbers out there I think they're embellished. And you have different groups of people embellishing a lot of those numbers for different reasons. A lot of the coaches in schools want higher numbers out there from their school, because it makes their school look like how committed they are, which is going to get attraction. And then some of the players are going to want big, and their representatives want big numbers because it shows how marketable and how big time their player is. But the reality is a lot of these numbers we will never see. And some of them have contingencies. So it's like, if they meet certain goals, if they accomplish certain objectives, if they there are almost like tiers to some of these deals. So the numbers, I don't want to get too carried away what the numbers really mean, but it's going to become a bigger and bigger factor across the board.
Also, you've got to factor in that most of these guys aren't going to get NIL money. Right. Most players are not big money. Not big money. They'll get deals, which is what we were hoping for all along for a lot of these guys. But the kind of massive numbers you're hearing talked about, you're right. That is a very select few. That is an all-world quarterback that Ohio State, USC, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia want. Okay, well, how many kids exist that fit the bill that those 4 or 5 schools are after him? There are so few people who fit that bill. That kid will get paid. He may even make $1 million, maybe more. But there are so few of those players that have that kind of impact on any program. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but
and there will be contingencies, like Ira's saying, where it's like, oh yeah, you could make this much money if you win a Heisman, we win 12 games, you sell this many jerseys. Like, yeah, then you'll get this percentage. Good luck with that.
So, but we all understand that players on the roster are going to get paid based on performance. The problem right now is it's guys that aren't on a roster yet, that are either a transfer or a high school senior, that are getting these deals, offered to them. I mean, look, we just talked about Texas A&M. Like, we know what's going on there, and that to me is the issue. It's guys getting paid before they step foot on campus, and then what that does to the players that are already on that campus. Now, look, A&M has oil money; they can afford to pay all of them $400,000 or whatever it is, but most schools can't. And eventually, like, you can't. I just don't think this is feasible. This isn't sustainable. To recruit like this, to use this as recruiting. And it clearly wasn't meant for that anyway. Now, of course, because it's college football and it's competition, people are going to skirt the rules to get the best players they can and use the new avenue they can, which is NIL money. But until that's locked up with recruits, you're going to see more stuff like you saw with A&M.
There was there was a story, I think just last week, we were talking about it, like a quarterback out west who the collective, he went to transfer portal, is going to a new school, and the collective NIL group actually announced, I think, that they were going to pay him $90,000 or whatever the amount was, as part of the deal, which is basically telling the NCAA, hey, screw you, we're going to do what we want to do. And now everybody's just watching to see, okay, does the NCAA do anything or not? And if they do, what can they do? And if they don't, what's to stop anything? So yeah, it's wild, man. And, the one thing, and somebody made this point in the I think Gregory in the chat made the comment that most players are focused more on the NFL than they are their NIL right now. And I think that's true. I think like you said, the marquee players that can get the huge superstar deals, like that's one thing. There's of 85 scholarship players on the roster, there's probably 50 that want something. They would like something. They'd like $200 to go appear at this, autograph signing. They like free dinners, whatever, but they're not necessarily as focused on it as, a handful of marquee players, but those are the ones we're all going to focus on.
It's in basketball too. You look at North Carolina, like Baycott's not really an NBA prospect, but he's a really good college basketball player.
Right.
Well, he's coming back because he can probably make more money this 1 year at North Carolina through his NIL deal than he could have being a G League kid and maybe playing overseas, at least close to it. And he gets to play at home in North Carolina. And I don't think any of us have an issue with that. I think that's great. That's great for him. All the money he's made for that school, all the notoriety and attention he's given for that school, getting to a national championship game, beating Krzyzewski twice. Right, no, they lost. Didn't they beat him in the Final Four too?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's cool to me that he gets to do that. Guys like that are really good college players, but probably won't ever get paid a lot of money playing professional basketball. It's cool that he has that avenue. I just worry about the 17 and 18-year-olds that haven't accomplished diddly that are getting paid like this to go to a school before they've even done anything. That's where the issue I have with it is right now.
And I do think that'll be few and far between, though. Again, that'll be for players like Travis Hunter. And there aren't too many players like Travis Hunter.
There's definitely a feeling in the industry that the market's going to come back down to earth in terms of once people realize that there's maybe not the return that they expect. Like you hear about some of these schools, Miami's put out these numbers of the collective of what they're pouring into football. Well, if they're not successful, if there's 8-4, 7-5 for the next couple of years, are those people going to keep still pouring in all that money? Or is the market going to correct itself? I think there's been some of these cases where kids have announced huge NIL deals and then not even started at the school because somebody else beat them out. There's going to be a cooling off, I think, of the market, but still, it's still a little untapped.
Yeah, I think we get back to that feeling of helplessness because Florida State is not in an advantageous position to compete with some of the upper crust money schools we're talking about and their boosters, in particular out of the SEC. You know that, right? And so that's a feeling of helplessness. I also think there's just obvious distrust for and lack of belief in the NCAA, who is now kind of throwing their hands up and just let everybody do what they're going to do without a czar of college football saying, no, we're not doing this. It's bad for the game. Here's how this is going to work. We collectively have decided this is the best way to go about making sure players get what they deserve, but also protecting the sport. We don't have some visionary supplying an avenue that people can agree upon to head down. So everybody's just like, well, is anybody going to step in? The answer so far has been no.
If we had that, we wouldn't have gotten to this place. They would have fixed it earlier. They would have started paying players earlier and had some controls in place. But what happened is they just kind of kept kicking the can down the road, and now here we are.
And you think about, to put it back in Florida State's perspective, the reason I think we're all for players getting their share is you think about somebody like Rashad Green. Like he played in the NFL for 2 years. He certainly didn't make life-changing money. I think he was a 4th or a 5th round pick. That dude was a star at Florida State. And if the NIL was around then, he would have earned that money. He was a famous player, one of the most famous receivers in the country, playing for the most notorious team in the country. He would have earned that money. And now it didn't happen on his watch. And now I don't know what Rashad Green is doing for a living, but I know he could have used, probably like we all could have in college, an extra 6 figures a couple of seasons. I mean, that's big money, and he earned it. The problem is the kids, like I said, and I know you say there aren't many Travis Hunters, but I can also promise you, if you're a top 100 recruit, you're not going to a college for free.
No, that's fine. Man. But that's fine. But I don't think that there are too many people, even within that top 100, that are going to get the kind of deal that Travis Hunter was rumored to have received. Right?
Well, probably not, but they're still getting their share, and before they've earned their share. Like, what if Travis Hunter's a bust and he still got that money? Like, I just think the whole part of it was you get to make money off your name, image, and likeness because you've done something at the college level, not because you were great at St. Bishop Thomas Aquinas or whatever. Not because you were great at Collins Hill. It's because you're great at Florida State. That's how you've earned your money. And right now, it's just become this inducement for all these big schools to, like Texas A&M again, where you're like, okay, you haven't done anything at this level. Nobody even knows your name outside of our crazy fans, but we're going to give you this amount of money for your name.
Corey, I don't know where you're throwing around terms like inducement for. That doesn't happen. It can't happen.
I apologize.
Cannot happen.
That's my fault. That's my fault. Did he freeze up again, Ira?
No, he insists he's not frozen. He says
he's not frozen right there?
He's frozen. He's
okay.
Frozen.
That's great. I mean, look at that face.
Look at this. Here we go.
We got you, buddy.
Don't you love being outside the studio?
Because I can hear you guys talking about me the second it goes dark. The second
we got your back, man. That's
hour number 2 forthcoming headliner questions. Hang in, everybody.
Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
All right, about that time to upgrade my iPad and my Apple Gear. How much memory do I need? What upgrade should I get? What size screen? How many chargers do I need? USB-C, USB-D, mini USB, USB-B, ABC, 1, 2, 3?
If only there was a local business that can guide you and help you understand what you need and get you the best pricing possible. Oh, wait, that's what they do over at Macklemore Systems on Capitol Circle. Get help buying the right gear for the right price and have it shipped directly to their store for pickup, all at no extra cost. That's the kind of service you won't get at any big box store. Shop local at Macklemore Systems. Find out more online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all peaks, we fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark
License number CCC 1331204.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Here we go. It's time for a chance to grow your green and win $1,000 cash plus a shot at a $10,000 grand prize. Here's your new keyword.
Fine. F-I-N-E. Fine. F-I-N-E. Fine.
Enter that word now at realtalk93.com, and you might be the next winner.
Sweet Daryl, thank you. Oh my God.
I just won $1,000.
Hey, this is Monica. Hey, this is Elizabeth, and I just won $1,000. All right.
More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next after this town hall news break on WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Governments and social media companies have moved to restrict the ability of Russia's state media to spread disinformation about the war in Ukraine. That's prompted the Kremlin's diplomats to step up and do some of that work. Russian embassies around the world control hundreds of accounts on platforms including Facebook and Twitter. Deaths have been reported after explosions went off in Afghanistan's capital, targeting an educational center.
The blast occurred in rapid succession in a mostly Shiite neighborhood in Kabul. The explosions happened inside Abdul Rahim Shahid High School in the Dasht-e-Barshi neighborhood of Kabul and near a second education center several miles away. Guards outside the school say they saw many casualties, and an AP journalist saw walls splattered with blood, burned notebooks, and children's shoes. It appeared a suicide bomber blew himself up inside the sprawling compound, which can house up to 1,000 students. I'm Karen Chamas.
The U.S. has dropped its do not travel COVID-19 recommendations for about 90 international destinations.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention revised its travel recommendations, lowering many nations from a level 4 travel health alert to level 3. The countries and other regions dropped to level 3 high, which still discourages travel by unvaccinated Americans, include the United Kingdom, France, Israel, Turkey, Australia, Greece, Hong Kong, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Spain, and Russia. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Tensions are running high in Israel. Jets patrolling after Palestinian militants fired a rocket into southern Israel for the first time in months. It's a potentially major escalation after clashes at a sensitive religious site in Jerusalem and a wave of attacks and military raids elsewhere. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 3388 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 3388. Enjoy.
Jerry's Famous Cigar Shop is a special place. It's Tallahassee's only traditional gentleman's cigar lounge with a massive collection of hard-to-find boutique cigar brands, a staff with over 100 years of combined cigar knowledge and experience, the best prices in town with full box discounts, a great selection of beer and wine, indoor and outdoor seating, private lockers, and best of all, Jerry's is a local family-owned business. Visit us on Sherrill Road or the new lounge on Cary Forest Parkway, the only cigar lounge for the true gentleman.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines, headliner questions as we roll on. I'm Jeff, there's Corey, there's Ira, yay, Birch Orthodontics, as well as my oldest son's braces are off, good to go, he's happy, moving on. My youngest son moves into braces, I think next week, week after, whatever it is, so the hits just keep on coming.
It's a circle of braces life.
Yeah, braces life. Dr. Birch pulled me aside, said she did not appreciate my conspiracy theories regarding retainers, and she wanted me to, for the benefit of my son, strike that from the record and tell him the importance of wearing those. I said, "You're the doctor. You tell him. I'll tell him to do what the doctor tells him to do, and I won't bring it up anymore. That it's completely unnecessary to wear retainers for the rest of your life. It sounds absurd because it is absurd, but at least in the first couple of years, you've got to wear your retainer."
We got to see Bryce at the golf tournament, which was awesome. So I got to see the smile without the braces.
See the smile, yeah,
feeling good, feeling confident about himself. It's awesome. He looks good, and I'm sure Clark's going to be there soon. A couple of years with Dr. Birch, and she'll definitely do the trick. BirchOrthodontics.com is their website. You can set up free consultations. We actually, when we were having dinner or the banquet after the golf tournament, we were talking to a friend, and he was like, "All right, guys, for real, my kid needs braces.
Yes, go see her.
Really
yes.
good." We're all like, everybody at the table is yelling at him. Yes, even Stephanie, because her kids have gone there too. So
that's true.
Go to Birch Orthodontics.
If you see Bryce as an 18-year-old, his freshman year of college, and you go visit him at Princeton or wherever he's going, and you see that he's wearing a retainer, are you going to slap it out of his mouth?
They're not going to be wearing it. He's not going to be wearing it all the time.
You don't know. Some people get addicted to it, Ira. That's how it starts. Just saying.
Mark writes, "Let's go, Corey. I'm sorry we didn't get to go head-to-head on the putting green at Jeff's event. Sounds like you were making bombs. Ira, who played better, you or Aslan?"
I mean, Aslan was golfing. I was swinging a stick, trying to hit some balls everyone. There's no comparison. Aslan and our buddy Keith Cottrell were killing it, and Stephanie. I was there for the comedic support.
All right, so let's get to some of these questions.
Thanks,
now.
Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. You're the best, buddy. Mark from Naples. He's an attorney. And his kid's a great golfer.
I want to bring this up, Corey, because you've gotten into this habit now. I'm not real certain that all of the people who say nice things on the thread and ask questions want you outing their career choices, their family size, when they travel, where they come from, where they live, what restaurants and bars they like to frequent, how many times they come to a game and where they sit. I mean,
that's the risk. That's the risk you run. That's the risk you run of befriending me.
I mean, if I'm listening to this show as a fan, and why wouldn't I be? If I come by and see Corey at Corner Pocket where I know he's going to be, and I swing in there and I order a beer and I say, "Hey, man, it's nice to meet you. Thanks so much for your work. I really appreciate it." And then he says, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, man, I don't know. I'm Steve, and I'm from North Carolina." I'm not telling you a damn thing about
who's
my
that
life.
woman you're with?
Coming out on headlines, I promise you.
Yeah. Who's this woman you're with?
Yeah. Have you been divorced before, Steve?
Yeah. How long have you been married?
Yeah. You got a couple of kids? Do they still talk to you? All right, here we go. Let's.
But some people may not realize Corey. The beauty of Corey is how he's unfiltered. That doesn't turn off and on whether or not he's on the air, off the air. Corey is Corey. He's going to be unfiltered 24/7.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Well, it's not just unfiltered. It's that because he's an open book, you have to be too.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Miles writes, "Fellas, my brother Stevens and I refer to ourselves as the chastity belts, protectors of the meat. Supposed FSU baseball fans must be furious over the 4-0 weekend the Noles put on their feeble foes. My question is, What will it take for people to get behind Meat? Do they not realize that baseball recruiting is a 3 to 5 year process? He also had a COVID year just like Norvell. It's an interesting question. I think the vocal group that is not behind Meat will never be behind Meat. I don't know.
Until he wins one, unless he wins Omaha.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's literally what it's going to take, right? Because there are a lot of people that didn't like his dad there for the last 20 years of his career because he didn't win it out there. That's the only thing that will change the narrative on that family, and a hire, if it was a good one or not, is a national championship.
I did just James B put in the chat that Corey, it's okay. My life is an open book as well, because I forgot about the fact that you brought up his dad and what.
Yeah,
never, man. I like to share. I like to share tidbits.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing with Leonard Hamilton. People make their decision at some point in time that this guy's a good coach or not a good coach. Some people have done it with Meat, and they'll maybe be a little quieter if they go on a run. But as soon as they lose, whether it's in a super or regional or an Omaha, then it's going to be coming back out and saying, see, I was right. So he has to win a national title. That's about it. I mean, for those people, I think most people are wait and see. And then there's the two fringes. Some people who think he's a slam dunk hire, he's going to do great. And some people who think it's never going to work.
But let's not act like the 2-7 didn't happen either before the 4-0 week. For sure. Like this has not been a great baseball team by any measure, even with that great starting pitching. Two guys that'll probably be drafted in the top 2 rounds. They still haven't been great. It was a really good week, one of the best weeks, maybe the best week of his career so far here. But it was there's still some question marks about this team. Not everything was solved in a week. And 2 weeks ago we were killing the team. I don't want to sit here now and act like everything's all right after. Like we can't be that reactionary. There's still some stuff that has to be proven to the three of us.
The problem is too, the sport of baseball doesn't lend itself to be all in or all out in any given moment. You have to. It requires. That's why they play 162 games in Major League Baseball. I mean, the best teams in that league will go on 5 to 7 game losing streaks, oftentimes to teams that have no business beating them. The sport is that way. You could. They weren't doing this during their losing streak, Corey, but I mean, you could have a week where you square a bunch of balls up and they're right at people in the biggest moments of the game, and another guy hits 2 bloop singles with runners at second and third and 2 outs, and you lose 4-3.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a weird sport,
right? But that wasn't happening in there.
I'm saying though that as well as I do that the ebbs and flows of baseball, it does not serve you well as a fan to make grandiose statements about what a team is or is not 30 games in, 20 games in, or after a good week or a bad week.
Sure. It's just that, again, they lead the ACC in strikeouts and they're second to last in runs scored. Those are odd things when you have an offensive coach.
No, that's frustrating, and it's fair to point out, and it's something to keep your eyes on closely.
Sure.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's all
we're saying. One of the things from a tangible things you can actually point to is, he did say that he felt like they were overanalyzing everything around the time they went on that road trip, and did they get swept, or they won? They won on Saturday. They won one of the 3, and he said that the guys you could just tell how they were just overanalyzing everything. They were just trying to basically be too perfect at the plate. And then they relaxed, and he thought that they were going to turn out of that. And sure enough, they have. So if they can continue that, there's no question they have talent, and it's not like he can't teach players how to hit. It's just, I think they all got domed up at the same time. So we'll see how it plays out.
Good question nonetheless, Miles. Nathaniel writes, Jimbo's agent that finagled his current $75 million contract can't possibly have been the same person who negotiated with the devil whatever rotten deal he clearly signed while still at FSU. Fellas, this string of events isn't normal. Also, Ira, are you actually going to solicit Twitter questions? That feels like Pandora's box. Well,
I did not solicit Twitter questions. Yeah,
that weird, Ira, the guy that always wants to go to Twitter. Hey, have you done the Twitter questions yet, Jeff? Where are the Twitter questions?
I feel like me putting the call out for Twitter questions would have been like bathing myself in like marshmallow cream and rolling around in ants. Like there was no way I was going to.
What a visual that is.
Well, it's something to think about later, Corey, for you.
I was thinking, Ira, it would have been the ultimate flex if you had just said, any Twitter questions, fellas? We're going to be doing headlines tomorrow. And just blindly gone in there. Like, what's the problem?
We'll get back to it next week. We're relying on Corey's Facebook friends.
I also believe
they're your Facebook friends this week, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I also believe that if we were to venture down the road of Twitter, there aren't a lot of questions, just a lot of accusations and observations.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the
Probably
stuff.
probably a lot of observations more
A
than
lot of
anything.
observations, a lot of accusations,
Yeah.
any number of conspiracy theories there. Gentlemen, I'm not sure the important news has already been asked, so I wanted to revisit how Norvell compares to other coaches. The real comparison is Arkansas. Arkansas and FSU both had 3 coaches in 4 years. Their previous coach had a worse record than Taggart and worse recruiting class by about 10 spots each of those years. Pittman and Norvell both had losing records in their COVID year. Then Arkansas won 9 games last year and goes 500 in the SEC West. If it could be done there, why can't it be done here with Norvell? Are we sure he's the guy? Also, Corey, I took my daughter to Daytona for the cheerleading championship last weekend. Spoiler alert, Navarro wins.
Oh, what? Why did you read that? That's crazy. I didn't want to know that. I'm actually looking forward to that. That's ridiculous. I wish you hadn't have done that. Who wrote that?
Are you gonna come after him?
Well, I want them to feel my
You're going to share
ire.
their life story and that their motto
I mean,
was
that was
10 years
awful.
back?
Man, that's
Is
too bad.
Navarro the team we want to win or no?
Well, no, not necessarily, but there's the 2 JUCO teams in Texas they cover that are close to each other, and it's drama who's going to win each year, and it goes down to the wire, and they all go to Daytona, and you don't know, and now there's no point in even watching it because I know who wins.
There never was. There never was.
That's true. It's a great show. It's a great show, guys.
There never was. John Summerfield wrote that too.
Hey,
John, come on,
You know
man.
anything? You know anything about his life that you'd like to share with the people?
He's mean. I know that. He's mean. He doesn't think of other people. I can tell you that much.
Should we tackle the Norvell question? And what's fair and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. By the way, he asked that question in a proper way, acknowledging apples to apples to some extent. A lot of people like to just blanket say these things when those aren't scenarios that are similar. That is a similar scenario. And there's a real easy way to answer this. You can say that what Coach Pittman has done at Arkansas is remarkable and that he's done an amazing job and that kids have bought in and he's turned them around pretty quickly to a place that we haven't seen Arkansas play at in quite some time. Kudos to Coach Pittman. It is possible and he's done a good job. We'll see if it's sustained. I have my doubts, but good for him. I also like the guy. Sam's a funny guy. For Norvell, it'll be interesting, right? Because he didn't have the same success.
Oh, boy.
You take over, Ira. He didn't have, I think he was going to say success.
Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back in. I feel like we're communicating on Star Trek. Like he's coming in and coming out.
There he is. There you go. Now you're good now. You're good
All
now.
right. Because Norvell didn't exactly have the same success as Pittman did at Arkansas in the same amount of time in a similar scenario, doesn't mean he isn't the guy. Also doesn't mean he is the guy. We'll see. So, those things can be simultaneously true.
Yeah, I think I may hear my doorbell here in a second. We've got a plumber coming to the house. So
did you guys hear my doorbell go off?
Did not.
About 10 minutes ago. Okay, well then we probably won't hear yours either.
All right, sounds good. But yeah, no, he. I think when you look at, this might be a more fair comparison than other ones. My point is none of them are the same. Every situation is very different depending on, not just the culture, but who those coaches were that you followed. Not following 2 straight coaches. And again, I think back to when I was in college and Steve Spurrier took over at Florida in 1990. That program had not done anything. And he came in and they had success right away. But I've heard him talk about it since, and I was there at the time. And he said there were no problems in the locker room. There were no problems with the players. All wanted to do. They had good leaders on that team. They just needed a head coach and then he brought in a new offense that the SEC had never seen before. And it just kind of lit fire. But he could have walked into a tougher situation, and it might not have happened as quickly. So that's my whole point with all this is you really can't compare every situation to another. But evaluating Norvell, I mean, I think we've all been honest with him. He's done some really good things from an organizational standpoint. I think he's done a good job. I think from an evaluation standpoint, I think they brought in better players. I think he's handled a lot of the minefields with the culture on the program. I think he's handled pretty well. He's gotten a lot of the kids out that you probably needed to get out. He's gotten some good kids in, but he hasn't nailed it. He hasn't nailed all those decisions. He hasn't brought in high enough quality players quick enough to win at a high level. They are still 5-7, but we see a lot of things we like. It's just, but it hasn't been a slam dunk. Nobody can tell you right now that it's been an A+. But I think he's been a B so far. and we'll see if he plays himself into an A.
Should have kept Kendall Briles. Maybe he'd have won 9 games. That's all I'm saying.
You think Kendall's the answer over there?
I mean, I think he's a big part of it. I mean, the Arkansas forever couldn't score points. No matter what they did, who their coach was, they always had trouble scoring points, and that guy puts up points. He doesn't against Georgia, but nobody does. But against average SEC teams, he puts up points.
Really quickly, I think that the meat and potatoes of this evaluation, the big moments are happening right now. There's no more fallback. This has to be a good year, and it has to be followed by another really good year.
Yeah.
And if it's not, he'll be in real trouble, period. I just think it's that simple. And I think he knows that. I think he knows that's realistic. People always want to say, is a guy starting out the season on the hot seat? Well, I don't think he's on the hot seat because, again, they're not going to fire him after this year, in my opinion, because of financial reasons. Now, if he were to go 2-10, maybe they would, but it seems doubtful, right?
Plus, also because there are a lot of good things.
Yes, right.
So it's not just about that.
Yeah. So I don't think that he's on the hot seat, but I have said repeatedly, and I believe this to be true, he had better have a good season this year, or in essence, he's a dead man walking. And I'll repeat that. If you don't have a good year this year, as in 8-4 or better in all likelihood, you're probably a dead man walking. And it doesn't mean that they'll fire him after that season. It just means that he's on the cusp, on the verge of, and likely going to be fired before he gets it turned around if he can't have a good season this year. So it's vitally important that whatever they're going to get in this transfer portal, they get to the getting, and it's enough to help them overcome the deficiencies that we know they have. I think that includes an offensive lineman. I think it includes a wide receiver. We'll see what else they're able to bring in. Like you said, we're not real sure of the numbers, but it's going to be important because I think they have to plug a few holes here.
I would put it at 7-5. I think if you're 7-5, I'm not saying anybody be happy with it, but I don't think it would be such a abhorrent season because, again, 3 or 4 of those losses would be against teams that are ostensibly better places as programs right now than you are. I don't think those are unforgivable sins. So I think if you go 7-5, I think people, and you go to a bowl game, maybe win a bowl game, I think people it's not the end of the road. He'd still have a lot of work to do. But if if he goes 5-7 or 6-6, I just think at that point it becomes hard to really get any kind of traction.
You can't plateau, man. You can't plateau. You're on a trajectory. Maybe it's not this steep, but it's this steep. But you're on a trajectory. You can't flatline. You can't go 5-7, 6-6 again. Because last year was a 6-6 team. If you're 6-6 again, still scoring under 30 points a game, yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think maybe he doesn't get fired, but the seat is really, really hot. And you are right to look around the country and see other 3rd-year or 4th-year coaches that have done better than your guy and wonder if you've got the right guy.
But don't you think 7-5 still shows that trajectory?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, depending on how it looks, right?
Well, but
Jeff. Yeah. I think 7-5 shows just numbers-wise it does. But yeah, they could be 7-5 and show you enough to think they're still chugging up. They're still going uphill.
8-4 or better certainly shows real progress, real traction. Okay, this thing's got a chance now.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to win over a recruit who's trying to get a feel for, is this place upwardly mobile? I mean, I think 8-4, 9-3 has to be the kind of record that would get their attention. I'm not sure 7-5 does. I know what you're saying, Ira, and I don't disagree just pragmatically that would be progress, but I don't know that wins anybody over on who's waffling. I think for recruiting purposes, he's got to have a year here where they get a win over a significant team that turns people's attention and like, okay, look at Florida State, and that they show obvious sign.
You definitely, that would be 100%. That would be preferable. That's what I'm sure they'd love to happen. But and I think from a recruiting standpoint, you're probably right to some degree with certain players. But I think from a fan base standpoint and a support standpoint, the boosters, people still supporting the program, I think it's 7-5. He's a likable guy. There's a lot of good things, and especially how the losses play out and who they're to. I don't think he'd have lost the fan base or lost the program. 8-4, though, you're right, would resonate in a much different way.
Yeah, and well, this is a fun conversation. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
The expensive bites and eats for delivery options. Ordering food from your favorite local restaurant just got easier. Choose foodiestakeout.com to save 10% when you order from select local restaurants today. Text Foodies to 230-9456 and get 10% off your first order at foodiestakeout.com. Don't wait. Do it now and save. Text the word Foodies to 230-9456. Shop local and save at foodiestakeout.com.
People trust Sellers for better tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Sellers Flooring Advisor Ryan Fitzgerald.
We understand most people don't come in with great knowledge of what they're looking for or what they need. So at Sellers, what we try to do is use our expertise to guide you through the process.
Get Sellers working for you.
We make it easy, and we have the experts on staff to get you where you need to be, and we give you the options.
On Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive. Call 656-8453. Online at sellerstile.com.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Being a mom is tough, so let's make those weeknight dinners a little bit easier. This Mother's Day, Real Talk 93 and Basic Brooks Law Offices want to give one tough mother a grand prize of 22 gift cards from local restaurants for Mother's Day 2022. All you have to do is visit realtalk93.com and send us a message telling us why your nominee is one tough mother. Brought to you by Dana Brooks and the Basic Brooks Law Offices. Come back stronger with Basic Brooks. Online at basicbrooks.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Let's keep it rolling here with the headliner questions. A couple of things. Spencer writes, what a week. Ira, could you please explain the pros and cons of not revealing a source on journalistic stories? I appreciate your integrity throughout this process, especially because you answered so many questions on the message boards yesterday. And for the three of you, what's it like being in a career field where your names and reputations are on the line while your customers can hide behind a screen and type whatever they want about you? I can't think of any other career where that happens. Well, Ira, I want you to answer his first part of this question in a second. I want to really quickly say, Spencer, that I think the three of us agree that the good of this job far outweighs the bad, and none of us feel like martyrs in any way. I mean, it just comes with the territory, but there are so many benefits to what we do, what we get to do, what we're allowed to do, and also some of the perks of what we do are insane. And I kind of just look at it as that's the other side of it, that if you're going to get all the benefits that we get to go cover national championships, stand on the sideline, get to know amazing players and coaches and their families. And, I've covered Super Bowls, World Series, Stanley Cup finals, national championships. There's no other job where I would get to do that and get paid pretty well to do it, I might add, and talk about sports on a daily basis. And you guys write about it on a daily basis. And now these days in the modern era on TV and everything else, I mean, this is an amazing job. So I think we all kind of just accept.
Don't forget the groupie situation. The groupie situation is out of control. Like that's another perk that they don't talk. We don't. I mean, look, I'm an open book.
Again, with the revealing everything about this, please, sir.
I mean, it's crazy what it looks like outside the studio when we're done recording one of these on a Tuesday. Ira, go ahead though. You can answer.
Yeah, I mean, just like athletes, will say that that they appreciate the cheering, but they don't get too carried away with it because if they mess up, they're going to hear the other side of our coaches. And it's the same thing with us. But we can't appreciate all the great things people say to us and the support. Or if Corey writes a column, or if you have or Tom does a great montage, or you have a great take, or if I write something and then people tell us how great that is, you can't turn around and get mad when people get mad at you or rip you. So you can be bothered by it. The only people that bother me with this whole thing is like some of the opportunists who see it as a chance to kind of build their brand by taking shots at somebody else. That's like, whatever, man, just go do a good job and you'll succeed. But by the way, what's the name of the person that asked the question? You still have
Spencer.
That question was Spencer wrote that question. Yeah.
Thanks, Spencer. Yeah. I was just curious if it was a name because he mentioned on the message boards. There's two issues. One is if somebody shares information, we talk sources all the time. All three of us do. Anybody in this business does. And if you expose where you get information and they don't want you to expose that information, then they're not going to talk to you again. And really nobody else should talk to you again because anytime there's been a hint of trouble, you've just exposed the person who shared some information with you, then they're not going to want to talk to you. And we have conversations every day. I might have in the course of a week, you might have 10, 15, 20 conversations with different people. Some of them are consequential. Some of them are non-consequential. But you don't want people to always be wondering, hey, is Ira going to say what I said in this situation? So those conversations remain private. And this was a case where I had information that this was going to happen, and then things changed. It didn't happen. But I'm not mad at that person. And they didn't intend to mislead me, and they didn't mislead me. What they told me was true at the time. It just, circumstances change. So, but the main reason is a big part of our job, and not even to break stories, just to understand what's happening. If something happens, like that night, I called a source who wasn't involved with me getting the original information, and I said, "Can you tell me what you're hearing or what you know? Because it sounds like the kid has denied that he's coming to Florida State, or he doesn't want to say it publicly." And so you're reaching out to other people to get more information. And a lot of it never appears anywhere, but you want people to feel comfortable talking to you. So that's why you can't do that.
Well, the most famous source of all time was the Watergate guy, Deep Throat, who ended up being, I think his name was Mark Felt. I can't quite remember his name. He said who he was right before he died, like a decade ago. Woodward never gave him up, ever. And that was 40 years. And he was, Hal Holbrook played him in the movie. And that guy was never even quoted in any of those Watergate stories. He was just deep background. That's why I got the name Deep Throat. You just used him to confirm things. Like he was never quoted even as an anonymous source. He was just used as deep background. Now, obviously, Mims is a much bigger deal than Watergate. So you have to take that into account, like the similar type stories. But yeah, if you get in and Ira does it a lot more than I do, but if you have a source, you also can confirm it with other people, and just for your own peace of mind that you're getting it right. You confirm it with multiple people, and those people can be deep background when you're just confirming it. You're not quoting anyone.
Well, and also once you get that confirmation and those are viewed as reliable sources, you're obligated to run with the story at that point. I pretty much, and Ira, I don't know if you agree with that, but like if you're double sourcing, triple sourcing, and you've got reliable sources and they've told you this and you confirmed that, then you kind of have to write that story knowing that things don't always work out.
Right.
And the thing,
and I didn't say this yesterday when you brought it up, and I thought about it afterwards, like, because people would say, why the rush? The difference here, in my opinion, is with transfers is you don't know how that process is going to is going to play out. You don't know how quickly. Corey, what are you doing, man?
I'm trying to get my light to turn on more. Sorry. Hey, man, don't let that affect you.
Waving your hands around.
Just because I'm doing this, don't let that distract
distracting.
you, man. Get in the
But
zone.
anyway, the process with transfers is just totally different, and they could pop at any time. And they're not doing press conferences, and they're not a lot of these commitments. When you see high school players and people say, yeah, you guys let every commitment just happen. They do it on their own. Yeah, well, they're also kind of orchestrated. It's over time. With transfers, it's a little bit different. So when I was told it was, I was in the impression it was a done deal. So that's what I reported, because anybody could have reported. If I'm hearing about it, and I've talked to a couple different people about it, then there's a decent chance other people are as well. So what am I waiting for? Am I waiting for somebody else to report it? When would it be okay for me to report it? Because I don't know if that kid is going to make the post on social media, because it's a transfer and it just feels a little bit different. So anyway, that's why it happened the way it did last time. It certainly will happen different in the future. I will not handle it quite the same way in the future.
Also because it's a different deal anymore, recruiting and or transfer portal kids. It's just a different. It's like we said the other day, man. I think everybody, no matter where they work, are going to be thinking, until I see that kid in a classroom, I'm just not going to, until he's enrolled officially and he's on campus, we're just not going to say, hey, Joel, thanks again, man. He writes and weighs in again. Appreciate you guys helping feed my garnet and gold addiction. Your hard work goes a long way. Thanks, Joel, man. That is really nice of you, and thanks for contributing to what we do and helping us out. Appreciate
Joel, you're the man, buddy. Did I tell you guys that I saw him at Corner Pocket?
You did.
Where
what
I
are his
do
kids' names and where do they live?
Don't worry about it.
I want to see Joel at Horizons next time he's in town. Next time you're in town, reach out to Corey, reach out to one of us, and we need to meet you over at Horizons as well. Horizons Bar and Grill up on Bannerman on the northeast side of Tallahassee, because they've got great food. CP is not the only place that has great food and alcohol, and Horizons has supported us for years in this location and then previously when they were Spirit. So
by the way, at the golf tournament, I had 3 different people come up to me and sing me the jingle and said they love it. They laugh every time. And anytime, one guy said that anytime his wife sees the sign for Horizons, she sings, Jeff, you can sing it. She sings the jingle.
Yeah.
It's taken off, guys. It was a great idea on my part. It's perfect. So I just want to let you guys know.
Except for it's stolen and we couldn't use it.
Right. But whatever. Don't be like that.
Oh man. All right, let's get to it. Damn, Joel. Are we going to just stop the show? Today's show is called Joel Davis. That is it.
JD
Welcome
in
to
the
the Joel
house.
Davis Show. You are the best, Joel.
By the way, if you guys, and Jeff's frozen again, it's fine. But if you're wondering, man, why is Joel giving all these jokers this money when there's Rising Spear out there, there's Seminole boosters? Trust me, he's taking care of that too. Like Joel D's got a lot of money to go around apparently, and he's taking care of a lot of Florida State things. He's a big time donor to the program. It's not just a Warchant, but we all love him.
Absolutely, we do. Bauer Sauce Seymour Hoffman writes, "Help!" And that's it.
Bauer Sauce.
Bauer Sauce. Good to hear from you, buddy.
He's just in the echo chamber screaming in the distance.
Yeah. Ryan writes, "Hello, Big Daddy J, Silver Fox, and Trace McGritty." So has Meat gone full Tom Berenger from Major League, beat the Gators, sweep the conference leader? What are the chances this team gets to host a regional? P.S. Ira, all the real fans stand by your reporting. There you go.
That's nice. Yeah. They could host a regional, right? I mean, they're in position to host a regional. I don't know what they're ranked right now, but they, one more good weekend, they'll be in the top 15 or 16, I would think. They're at Clemson this weekend, I think. So yeah, if they can win 2 out of 3 the rest of the way, they can definitely host a regional. Might host a super regional. That's a big win. That's a big sweep, man. Louisville was very good, and the team they're playing tomorrow, Georgia Southern, has an RPI of like 7. So that would be a big win if they can pull that off.
It was, I have to admit, I'm not surprised they beat Florida. Obviously Meats had a very good record against both Florida and Miami in his brief time here as the new head coach. I am shocked they swept Louisville.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That series sweep is a big deal. You're right. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
and older or have a disability preventing them from using the city's public transportation are eligible for Dial a Ride. The Dial a Ride program gives all its customers an opportunity to book trips in advance and provides same-day services. Each ride is $2.50 and door-to-door pickup is available. A man from Tallahassee has died following a vehicle accident Monday afternoon on U.S. Highway 90 west of Dover Road. The incident involved a sedan which was driven by a 27-year-old Tallahassee man and a semi-truck. The driver of the car attempted to pass on the right side of the semi-truck as the truck attempted to make a right turn. The two vehicles hit, and then the sedan crossed the grass shoulder, collided with two trees, and overturned. The driver was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected from the car. He was transported to Tallahassee Memorial, where he later succumbed to his injuries. This is Rachel Linnea with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 74. Northerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 48 tonight. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Highs around 80. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times Thursday. Decreasing clouds by Friday. Low 80s Thursday. Mid 80s by Friday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 67.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Having AC issues? Get it fixed now before that summertime heat has you singing the sweaty blues. E&B Heating and Air new customer diagnostic special for just $49.95. We sell the best and fix the rest. Call E&B Heating and Air today at 850-848-0187.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
It's Congressman Michael Waltz on the Greg Tish Show.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Again, just what you have to go through day in and day out. I don't know how you have hair left, or like Matty Rowe, just completely bald.
Hey!
Sorry.
And the irony of it all, the progressives are the tail wagging the dog. This whole bipartisan White House is a joke. We're just watching them eat their own.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
By the way, fellas, do you think that Florida State's going to beat LSU in that game in New Orleans? I was just reading the chat here. People were talking about going to that game. I'm getting more and more excited about it. We're almost out of April. Once May hits, I know, Corey, for you, it could be 2 days before kickoff. You don't think football's arrived yet, but for a lot of us who are eagerly anticipating the season, once you get close to June, baby, it's time to get it on. And so anyhow, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little early here, of course, but are you guys thinking that Florida State's in a good position for that game?
I do.
I think they got a legit shot. I don't know if I would predict it, but yeah, man, there's so many things. If it was in Florida, I'd feel a lot better about it. Playing in New Orleans, concerns me a little bit. This team going on the road, that big of a high profile of a game, is Jordan going to be able to handle it and all that? But yeah, man, you're getting them in a great spot in this transition period with all the players they lost. I mean, there's no reason to think that they don't have a good shot at it.
And there can be, I know it'll be an LSU crowd, but it doesn't have to be 90% LSU fans.
Right.
Like Florida State fans can show up, and it's been a long time since Florida State was in New Orleans, back when we were sick of going every year. That was a long time ago. So, get out there. Go watch this game. It should be fun.
When they made the Sugar Bowl in 2002 to go play Georgia, nobody wanted to go to that game. They're like, man, we go to New Orleans every year, and people are just so tired of going to New Orleans. And it's been 20
It was
years.
legit like the fifth time in 9 years. It was like the fifth time in 9 years they'd gone to New Orleans. So, yeah.
Just take it for granted.
Yeah, I was one of the people who was not happy about going to New Orleans for that game, and did the pregame show with Eric Llewellyn, and ran into some people, and we were all frustrated because then that ended up being, of course, situation at quarterback that is less than ideal and very frustrating. All right, let's get to more questions here. Sean writes, baseball teams back on track. How you three feeling? More likely hosting first weekend of the playoffs or on the road as a 3 seed like last year?
What's more likely, Corey?
Man, ask me after this weekend, man.
Yeah,
I want to see if it was. I want to see if this was a one-off or if they've found something. If they go up to Clemson and win 2 out of 3, Clemson's not very good this year. If you're going to go up there and win on the road a couple games, then I'm feeling good that they'll be hosting.
Based on what we've seen so far, I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm going to say a 3 seed on the road, but they certainly could turn around and prove us wrong. I mean, there's talent there. I do like the move of Montgomery to the Sunday starter. I think that's kind of been overdue. And so that could definitely help as well, because those Sunday games have just been a lost cause.
I'd like him. I'll be honest. I'd like him at closer. That was ridiculous. 96 with that breaking stuff. Like that was tough, man. Those were 2 good hitters. He just carved up. He just dominated. You haven't had that this year. Him and Hare back to back would be pretty nasty.
Burke writes, we could say from a general sense that we should be improved on offense, defense, and special teams. We gave up 27 points per game and scored 28. What would you consider a realistic goal for improvement in that stat?
I wonder that maybe that's something I'll write about, Ira, too, is like point differential and where you have to be an 8-win team when it comes to point differential. Because I would say 31 and 24. If you can get up to 31 points a game, so if you can raise yours by 4 and lower your defense by 3, that should equate to at least 2 or 3 more wins, I would think. That's just me spitballing. I don't have any math behind it, but I feel like if you go up 3 or 4 points and lower what you give up by 3 or 4 points, that should equate to 2 or 3 extra wins. Who's with me?
Yeah. I mean, the math part of it, I'm going to leave the math part of it to you. But yeah, I think they're definitely going to be, I personally think they're definitely going to be better on the offensive side of the ball. Jeff, I think, is a little bit more on the fence on that. Hasn't been thrilled with the offensive line. Hasn't been thrilled with the additions at wide receiver. Is still not enamored by the quarterback. I think they're going to be better, but I know Jeff might see it a little differently.
I think the offense should be slightly better. I don't think it's going to, as I've liked to point out, appreciably better. I don't see it. I don't see a significant leap forward here based on the offensive line that we have coming in, unless they make some changes and guys take a huge step forward that I didn't see in the spring.
Man, if they had just gotten the Mims kid,
that could have helped, Corey.
On that topic, though, so if they get a quality starting offensive tackle, how much does that change things for you? Because obviously that's on their agenda if they can do it.
Yeah, and I really think that, something that's been not overlooked because we talked about it at the time, but I think it's significant, and to what degree we won't know because we barely saw him practice, but based on the accomplishments, losing Winston Wright to injury due to a car accident, we talk about being unlucky a lot of times. Good God, man. I don't want anybody to get into a car accident, but what are the chances the one proven guy in the Power 5 that's had back-to-back good seasons in which he was productive comes to your school and he's a plug-and-play guy in all likelihood and unfortunately gets into a car accident? I mean, it's unbelievable. I think they got to get another receiver. I don't think that they're well off there.
Well, but I think the thing is, this is where I get back to where I was talking about earlier with that margin for error, because if Winston Wright was just like a piece on top of a really good group, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But you needed him to be a big time player in this group, and then you've got Micah Pittman, and then same thing on the offensive line. Like Lloyd Willis is a guy that we were hoping for something this spring. He got banged up during the spring. I don't think he played in the spring game. He was out towards the end of the spring, so you didn't get to see the growth there. But even if you get one player, the margin is so small. That's the problem with all these positions.
Yeah, and I don't think that we know that that's the area that they're furthest away from, I think, seeing a big jump. I think they'll be better on special teams now that they've got people that can catch the damn ball, catch a punt. Proven guys that can catch a punt. And okay, good. That'll be good. They can't be worse than they were on special teams last year. So I'm going to assume that's better. I do think, I'm like both of you guys, I like this defense. I mean, I don't think that they're a top 10 defense or anything like that, but I think they're a good defense. I think they have a chance to be a good defense. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know they're improved at linebacker. I think they know what they're doing in the secondary finally. So I feel pretty good about this defense.
Sorry to interrupt you. I did look up the last 8 games, because we've talked about how much better they got kind of out after that Louisville game. If you look at their points per game and yards per game, basically all the major stats from those last 8 games, they would have been like a top 40, 42 defense. They finished, I think, 60, 65. So if you take out those first 4 games where they had some personnel changes and some other issues, and you kind of take those out of the equation, that's how they played those last 8 games when you're playing a lot of your conference opponents. So if you can make a jump from there, be in the top 40, that would be good.
Get you a receiver, get you a lineman. God forbid you fall into a tight end somewhere. That'd be nice too.
You need one of those on the roster.
Yeah, that'd be good. Here we go. Next question is, after we beat Ira broke out the Don Julio. After this week, Ira, are you breaking out the absinthe?
Yeah. Did you partake at all? Also, Ira, you didn't answer. So Kim doesn't know anything that happened in the last week. You keep her, you shield her from that?
So, no, she doesn't know anything about it. And it's not like I wouldn't tell her. I just didn't want to tell her when the kids were here because I didn't want them looking at the mentions. But I switched straight to grain alcohol the last couple of days.
Smart.
That's what I've been
doing. Steve writes, what the hell happened? This applies to the baseball team as much as the transfer portal. Thanks for all the good times and great broadcasts. Thank you, Steve.
You're the man, Steve. Don't let anybody tell you different. Baseball team's ticking up apparently, or it was just a good week and a mediocre year. We'll know more after this week. It was a great week, but they had one last year. Remember, I think in 1 week last year they beat the bejesus out of Florida, then went down to Miami and swept them like 33-3.
Yeah,
and then they ended up being a 3 seed on the road. So we don't know necessarily that 1 week makes a season, but it was a very needed week.
But then also baseball being baseball, as we like to say, as a 3 seed on the road, they won and then turned around and nearly won again. They were that. So that's.
I don't know if you remember that play. The kid with a torn ACL hits a grounder to your shortstop who hurls it out of the stadium.
We're going to bring that up, are we? We're going to bring that up. Yeah. We'll come back, wrap it up in a moment. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. It hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true. But I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. Some people call me Paul because I work at Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Everyone that works here will proudly answer to the name Paul. One of the things I love about my job is that I get to help people fix their problems every day. If you have pests in your home, and you're like 99.9% of the people I deal with, you want them gone, not tomorrow, but right now. It always puts a smile on my face to hear the reaction of a customer when I tell them we'll have someone out there in a couple of hours. At Paul's, I get the privilege of making your environment safer and more healthy for your family and pets. And because Paul's provides a same-day service guarantee with minimal wait, we get to begin the process right after I receive the call.
If you live in Leon County and call us by noon, Paul's Pest Control will be out by 5, guaranteed. We're a local company, and it's our mission to help keep Tallahassee area customers comfortable and free from the problems that pests bring. And we do so with treatments that are friendly to our environment for the elimination of termites and any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
This is an important message regarding your backyard grilling capabilities. Upgrade your outdoor grill, indoor and outdoor fireplaces, wood stoves, or create a custom outdoor kitchen. The team at Hearth and Patio can do it all. If you haven't seen all of the amazing things you can do with a custom outdoor kitchen from Hearth and Patio, take a minute and visit their website, hearthpatiotallahassee.com. That's hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Call Hearth and Patio today at 727-4282. That's 727-4282.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
You know, somebody posted on the chat when we were talking about the games next year and the LSU game in particular that I brought up, and I think they're right. They said, you know, winning the LSU game would be nice, creates momentum, all of that's exciting, but the game to win, if you're trying to avoid a catastrophe, is you got to go win the Louisville game. And I think that's accurate. I think that's true. You could lose a hard-fought game to LSU. No harm in that, especially in New Orleans. You know, presumably, if you look at recruiting the last few years, they've probably got better players. So if you lost, whatever, you know, 31-24, but went on the road and beat Louisville on a Friday night, Corey and I would be celebrating with beers at the Pearl Jam concert afterwards on Saturday. Good times.
Are you going to that, by the way? Are you planning to go to?
Of course I'm going, buddy. Let's go.
All right. You heard it, Ira. You believe him?
So,
I think it's happening.
And then I'll see you in Nashville. So by the way, if they win that game, I think you'll feel like you're on track, and that would be a big deal. You just can't drop these games against middling teams that you frequently have lost to so far.
I think you need to win one of the two. Win one of the. It doesn't matter which one, really. If you beat LSU and then lose at Louisville on a Friday night, people aren't going to be wanting to burn your house down. Not you, but if you don't go 1-2 with your only win being Duquesne, that's not going to show. I mean, it's only a third of the season or quarter of the season, but it's not going to show any progress if your only win is Duquesne.
The season's not over. You know, it's not the end of the world, but people would be in a dark place if you're midway through September and your only win is against Duquesne.
Yeah, tantalizingly close to over, Ira. It would be pretty close to being over if you.
Hey, we thought that last year, and then they rallied back. They almost got to a bowl after that.
They rallied back to finish 5-7.
Almost got to a bowl.
Just saying, there were some good moments. There were some good moments last year. They almost got to a bowl.
Could sniff a bowl game. Could sniff it. Could almost taste it.
You could see it, and you're thinking, God, what's in my way? This Jacksonville State.
Yeah. Yep.
It's man. Win one of those games. It's not too much to ask us to go beat Louisville.
No.
Yeah. I think the Louisville
or LSU, really, honestly, like LSU isn't. It's his first. If you're going to play LSU in the next 5 years, this is the time to get them. It's their season opener, new quarterback, new coach, a boatload of new players because a lot of their good players are either hurt or have left. This is not the LSU it's going to be in 2024, almost certainly, because that guy can coach, and they're going to bring in a ton of really good players. Right now is the time to get them. You'll have a game under your belt. It doesn't get more advantageous than that. And you're not in Baton Rouge. Like, you should at least have, I would hope, 20, 25,000 of the fans there. So it won't be necessarily a road game. It won't be a neutral game either, but it won't be a road game. Go win that game. That's not impossible. Louisville's quarterback is better than whoever LSU's running out there.
It's weird. When I look at our schedule, when I look at Florida State's schedule, I kind of go back and forth between thinking, damn, man, this is – for where Florida State's at right now, this is a really hard schedule, given the veteran quarterbacks, given where some of these games are played, given that you have LSU on the schedule. Other days I look at it and I'm like, come on, man, beat freaking Wake Forest and Louisville, all right? Are we showing any signs? I mean, just
right. Not asking a ton.
I mean, come on. I do. Yeah. I pulled the Corey Clark. I'm like, can we beat Wake Forest and NC State and Louisville? Because if the answer is no to that, then what the hell are we talking about?
Yeah. Hey, good point. Well said.
Yeah, no, that's where I am, especially the Wake Forest is a big one, a perfect example, because I do think, they had a great season last season, but they also
quarterback's back.
The quarterback's back, but they also lost some other players, and that was when Florida State hadn't kind of stopped killing themselves. Early last season, Florida State just would go into games and just give games away. They changed that in the last 8 games. They played much better defensively. They settled in on Jordan as the quarterback. I just feel like Florida State at home is going to beat that Wake Forest team. Boston College, they beat them up there. They're getting them at home this time. I just think there's a lot of games that, yes, the quarterbacks, there are some really good quarterbacks in this league. But I think Florida State's got a really good chance to to win 8 games. I don't think that's unrealistic. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but I think that's more realistic than another 5-7 or whatever people fear might happen.
If you look at the last 2 months of last season, they were an 8-win caliber team.
Correct.
That first month was a disaster, and they were awful. They might have been the worst team in the Power 5. But those last 2 months, if they just play like that, they're probably a 7 or an 8-win team at worst. And they should be better. They really should be better, even losing Jermaine Johnson. I'd like to give a shout out before we sign off, Jeff, to the Facebook questions. Again, Ira for a year now has just he's pushed y'all to the side. He's rolled his eyes when Jeff goes to Facebook. He pushes Twitter all the time. And then who was there in Ira's crisis, in his moment of need, to give him nice, soft questions? And he didn't have to go to the gutter of Twitter to get to elicit questions from those people. I just want you to remember that, Ira. Facebook was here first. And look, when you want a rational, reasonable person, you go to Facebook. We all know that. We've learned that over the last 3 years. So I'm just saying, you need to give Facebook its due, man. Facebook came through for you this week.
You know what it is, Corey? It's a more balanced, fair representation of one's life.
Yes.
Whatever's presented on Facebook is very similar to their reality as opposed to what you see on Twitter.
Correct.
Yeah, man.
Correct.
Look, I appreciate the Facebook people. They were with us from the beginning. They're my people also. I just wanted the Twitter. You've never embraced the Twitter people. I embraced the Facebook people from the beginning. You've never embraced our Twitter question askers. So I've had to kind of stand up for them. But
you didn't this week. You didn't this week, weirdly.
This week, I just left them on their own. I just, forgot to send that prompt this week.
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important to point out that both Facebook and Twitter suck.
That's
correct. You're more of a Snapchat guy. You've been a Snapchat guy for a couple years now. I get it.
For Ira Schafel and Corey Clark, I'm Jeff Cameron. Thank you, Director Matthew. Thanks to all of you. Be well, everybody. We'll talk to you again next time on Seminole Headlines. Take care.